2 years ago, I preached a message on this text right here. It says this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. And whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give whatever you decide in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And I preached on this 2 years ago. Like, God invites us to do this. Would you give joyfully and generously? And so that's the verbiage we use here all the time. And coming out of that series, someone in our church came to me and said, listen, I would love to inspire generosity. I'm going to give a matching gift. $50,000, and for 2 weeks, let's see if we can match that gift from everybody else. And it was interesting. Here's what you did 2 years ago in 2014. We ran what was called the GX2 campaign. It stood for Generosity Times 2. And we just said, hey, would you for 2 weeks just see what God might have you give? And this is what you did in 2014. You gave $151,000. And last year, you gave $181,000. That's not actually including any of the matching gift at all. There's some amazing generosity in this room. But here's what's interesting, is I kept hearing stories from you about the joy that it gave you to give. It's not about receiving. It's about this gift of giving. Now, listen, if you're new to our church, maybe it's your first time, you're like, this is what I was afraid church would always be. I would show up and they would tell me no, and they would tell me give. Like, great, this is your most terrifying Sunday. Come on back next week. It's bound to be better, right? Here's reality. We always want to be building generosity in our church because of this. Money, particularly in Silicon Valley, it has a way of kind of gripping our souls. And money is not the root of all evil. The love of money, the greed of money, is what the root of all evil is. And so we just really want to build generosity. So here's what we asked you to do 2 years ago. And we've done this every year for the last 2 years. We asked you to do 3 things. Ready? Look at what you made for the year. Just look at what's on the paycheck and see what it is you made. And then do this. Look at what you gave for the year. And we just told you can go to www.lifeonthehill.rocks. You can go to our website, and your profile's there. You can just look at what you gave and then compare the two. And then here's the third thing. Ask if God would give you the label joyful and generous. Like, let's look at what you made, look at what you gave, and just say, God, would you call me joyful and generous? Like, would you say those numbers are generous and that's what you've invited me to give? And then would you say that I gave it joyfully? Now, if you're not a follower of Christ, man, you are off the hook for this, okay? If you're a guest of ours, you are off the hook for all. This is just kind of family business. So here's what I want to do. I want to keep every year building generosity in us. Because the concept that money can grab a hold of our souls, like, that's not going to go away. So we want to continuously build generosity. So here's what we're going to do this year. That matching gift that came in 2 years in a row, it's not accessible this year. It's just not there, okay? However, here's what's interesting. This last October, as our October ended and we were we're in the fourth quarter, do you know that you guys gave almost $100,000 more this year than you did that time last year? It wasn't just a 2-week generosity period. I think some of you, it's been a turning point in your life. That God's give you freedom over that. So here's what's interesting about that. Coming into October, at the end of October, we were right on track for income giving. Like, we set a budget, and if you've been around this church for any length of time, you know this. When we hit the fourth quarter, where are we usually? Not this direction, we're usually behind, right? The funny thing was, man, we were right on target for income, and we're like, this is amazing. Like, this has never happened in the 14 years that I've been a part of this church. Here's what you probably don't know, though. And usually in the bulletin, we always put our numbers. The interesting thing that we hadn't been putting in there was what the expenses were. You probably never knew that over here, part of our HVAC system, this pipe burst, ran water through our system. We had to tear out walls, put in walls. Over here, there's a flat roof. Last year, rain just kind of came through, seeped in. We had to deconstruct the room, repair the roof, and then repair that room. Some of you might not know this, that last month, I'm not very technical when I describe this, so forgive me. The power comes into the building, and it goes through this switch that's about this big. That broke. That's as technical as it's going to get. Some of you electricians are horrified right now. I know. I have trouble working on my own computer, too. And so for 2 weeks, I don't know if you noticed, there's like a tractor trailer generator that was outside this building powering our entire campus. This year, we have been about $120,000 over in expenses this year, even though like our income was right on. And so it's been challenging. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna invite you to a campaign today that's gonna go to the end of the year. There's 5 Sundays left. And we're gonna call it this. We're gonna call it Building Generosity for 2 reasons. Number 1, we wanna build generosity in the lives of people. Number 2, this building is requiring a little extra generosity this year. So that's what I invite you to. I brought this idea to some people at a prayer gathering at the beginning of this month. We do a monthly prayer gathering, first Wednesday of the month. And I just said, hey, this is the concept. Here's where we're at. And I just asked people there, I said, would you do this? Would you consider what it is that you would give? And I said, I kind of want to know going into this Sunday what you would give. 13 people got back to me. Those 13 plus my family decided, well, here's what we're going to give above and beyond the end of the year. And they've already said, hey, we're in $20,000. So we're 20%, 15, 18%. Look at my math skills. Someone will tell me, percent of the way there, okay? Our goal is this. We want to hit 120,000. So here's my invitation to you. To build generosity in your life, can I say this? Would you go and look at what you made this year? Would you also look at what you gave this year? And you can go to that website. If you're new, you don't have a profile here. We're not keeping a profile of everyone in the valley, okay? This is the information that you've given us. And just check out what you gave. And then just ask God this. Hey, God, would you give me the label joyful and generous? Not begging for it, but asking if he would call you that. And just ask this question. God, what do you want me to give? Above and beyond. I'm not asking you to tell us what that is. We're just going to, we already have our projection of here's what normal giving is from here to the end of the year. Does it go 120,000 above and beyond that? And when it does, we'll celebrate that, and that'll be good. And I just always want to be prepared to say, hey, guys, let's make sure that generosity lives in us, not just for the church's sake of, hey, let's keep going, but that brings life to us.